So, computer, let's find out our next player in the last man standing. Who is it going to be? Come on down. Mr. Craig Waddingham, the Silver Sniper. Hey, computer, in your own time, let's find out who Wad will be taking on. Tom Jones, the fifth Beatle. Get yourself in here, Tom.
Sort of amp up the energy a bit in the room. I think whichever of them wins might well make a call. I think these two are much more likely to shout somebody out and go for the big call than some of the previous ones.
I mean, there was a lot of talk last year about Neil Rayburn calling out Tom Cousins after the very first match, and that was fabulous. It really was. But for me, the best moment we've had with Ultimate Pool, obviously it came on a random draw. You know, the fact that Craig Waddingham had to play Mick Hill, and that was obviously caused a major stir when that happened. That was midway through day one in the afternoon session rather than the evening here. But then he goes and calls out Gareth Potts, which was one of the biggest lunatic moves we've seen with Ultimate Pool, but also ended up being complete genius because he gets the victory. Fabulous match as well, but gets the victory, wins his next match, and you don't see him again till the final. So he's probably thinking the same thing here. He won't be daunted by this. He's thinking, okay, 3 matches and I'm done. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, he's got form for those big calls. So I guess a lot of people are going to be rooting for him to win just to see what he might do. Tom Jones, I mean, less clear what he might do. He did play in last year's event. I think he is somebody that might go for a dramatic moment if the occasion arose.
Missed pot from Craig to start us off with, which is rare. He doesn't miss much. But yeah, I don't know what Craig would. Obviously, there's no Gareth Potts in the draw this time, so we know he's not going to call out Gareth this time round. But I don't know. It was one of those that caused a bit of a stir. But I don't know whether he'll do the same again. I think what I like about Craig is he's very strong-minded in terms of he'll have his own reasons for whoever he calls out. I don't think he'd go for the draw. In all honesty, I think he would call out, but. Yeah, he's not afraid to put his sort of his money where his mouth is, really, and back up and go for a road call.
He's a very confident player as well. He's done pretty much everything in the game, and he's beaten all the top players, so he's not going to be afraid of anyone. This should be, he says, as they get into a tactical game, quite an attacking game. Both of these are guys that like to get on with a frame, normally both very positive.
Tom Jones is one of the new professionals and new breed, and the way he goes about it, really entertaining. like shots like that. How about that as a double? But what tends to be, and this isn't a criticism of Tom, it's just he's where he is in his career right now. He wins so many frames with these eye-catching clearances and these big shots. You know he's really getting onto something when he starts making clearances and he doesn't have to play big shots. That's when, to me, he's going to really start to become a threat to win professional tournaments. But he has all the tools in the box to be able to do that. Really is a fabulous talent.
And this tournament actually could be tailor-made for him because it doesn't demand the same kind of consistency over a lengthy race that some other events do. If he could turn up with that dynamite form at the right moment.
Wow. Big miss. Very lucky as well with the way he's left this, but I think Craig would have expected just to lose the frame off that one. Probably quite happy that he's still in the frame.
Yeah, if there was going to be a mistake, you didn't think it was going to be on that shot. There didn't seem to be a whole lot to do with it. Not a perfect position for Craig, obviously where he was left, but better than the alternative.
Yeah, no attempt to pot that one. Just trying to leave distance, block off the 8-ball as well.
And actually this is a spot where blocking that pocket is of quite considerable value, because where that yellow is over the hole, the 8-ball would be very hard to play past it and very hard to play through it. So even if Tom does somehow take the reds out, it's not going to be easy for him.
So obviously he's going to back himself here just to make that combination. It's about as good a lay as you can have for that combination shot. Just got to make sure that you have angle on it so you can get on the 8 ball at the same time.
Yeah, you just want to be just off straight with an angle going over towards the right-hand side of the table. Just needs to pull up. That's pretty good. In fact, that's pretty much perfect.
Yeah. If we're being picky, the yellow's just to the side of the pocket, but it is right in the pocket as well. This is as good as it gets, really. Top professional really should be making this. Well, I'm surprised. I actually thought he was going to play that as a little nippy one. I know obviously there's a lot of talk about the combination shots, just a little bit easier to get the kind of spin kind of transferring across to play it with a little bit screw. Obviously that it's not imperative, you can make it the way he played it, and as long as you square it up. But I thought that was prime just to play a kind of soft screw shot and just kind of give yourself as much margin as possible on the shot.
So you want to go for the Carl Morris shot here, swerve off the right-hand side cushion, banana round.
Well, why not?
I don't think it would be that crazy a shot, actually. I mean, it's sat quite well for lining it up. It's probably not the most obvious shot still, though.
Well, obviously cue ball in hand now for Craig Waddingham, but it's still not guaranteed to win the frame off it. Looks like he's going to try and play a combination of his own, screw back, make the 8 ball onto the red. Very nice. Now he should go ahead and win the frame.
Yeah, that was a good shot. The frame wouldn't have been that easy to win had he not made that. He's going to play one more good shot, a slightly awkward cueing down. Oh, that's a fabulous piece of cueing. Very difficult cueing down like that to get through in a straight line. He's cued that really well.
Must have felt that the natural was going to take him too close to the yellow, so placed it that way, execute it beautifully. And we're up and running here. Craig Waddingham gets himself 1-0 in front. Fabulous break.
What we were saying at the beginning, I think this is actually a pretty good time for both players to be coming to the table for the first time. It's likely that if you come on at this point, this will be your only appearance today. So either you're going to lose and it's all going to be over on the Saturday night, or you're going to win and have one foot in Sunday. You forget how many players there are involved in this tournament, though, because we've obviously mainly seen the ones that have been at the table and a few things around the table. But when you see those wide shots of the room, you realise there were 32 players here at the beginning. There's a good number of guys who've had no part in this so far.
Yeah, we'll be down to 16 by the end of the day. In fact, 17 by the end of the day, because, of course, Jack Whelan got the extra life. So he remains in the tournament.
And of that 17, there's going to be a decent chunk of players who haven't been to the table yet.
What made Craig's call of picking out Gareth Potts so amazing last year is that Gareth wasn't a hitman. There was no benefit for playing Gareth, and I really thought he was. I mean, Gareth wasn't even ready to play. I mean, I think he probably had the same feeling I did, that we weren't going to see him till the Sunday. There was less chance of the random draw picking him out. We thought everyone was going to pick, and you weren't forced to go to the random draw. But Craig just went kind of big on it, and obviously it paid off for him. So maybe he'll be thinking the same here. Should we try and fast forward it if he does get the win? Last time he played Tom Cousins, he beat him 4-0 and limited Tom to 2 shots. Maybe he's calling Tom. Go really big, get his own back for the World Final.
Yeah, I don't know if the fact that he got to the final of this tournament will change his mind. When he made that call, maybe he was just thinking it was a bit of fun and wasn't really thinking about the business end, and then he got to the final. I mean, it could factor into his thinking, or it could be that worked well last year, making the big call, so do the same again.
Craig just has such a fabulous game, but also a fabulous attitude to the game. You know, he'll go out there and he's going to try his all on every single shot. If it doesn't work out for him, he'll dust himself down and come back for the next tournament. He doesn't beat himself up too much. He doesn't get too up or down. Obviously, he's desperate to win out there, and he is a winner. After missing his chances in the opening frame, important that Tom Jones gets going here, and he's got the chance with a very good break. Yellows is the choice. He's a little short, needs to keep going. He's on this, but obviously the wrong angle, so he's going to have to take the next one from distance. Imagine he'll keep the one on the left-hand side as his last ball, unless he feels like he wants to try and come round for it now, but it's a little bit further away from the centre pocket than you think, so it more sense to take it to the bottom corner.
He's a very fun player to watch, isn't he?
Yeah.
Often not in prime position, but just keeps coming out with these big shots. He's got a game that's sort of half textbook and half anything but. Like when you watch him line a shot up, in some ways the technical fundamentals are actually very conventional, but then just throws in some unusual moments along the way.
Yeah, I just think it just needs to tidy up the cue ball and the pattern play to really elevate himself and make him a major danger for professional tournaments. I mean, it's a surprise he's made a couple of errors here in the opening 3 frames that are really not surprising, that being one of them. That are surprising rather than that being one of them. But normal circumstances, he makes a high percentage of finishes, but he's always working hard. Whereas the more he plays, the more he plays against top players, the more he's going to learn patterns and tidy that cue ball up. He can really, the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, he's got to cut out those unforced errors. Those are the things that really kill you in matches, especially against opponents like this that are just so ruthless. Sometimes against lesser opponents, you start making mistakes and they almost join you. You can sort of drag everyone into a scrappy game. Someone like Craig Waddingham just looks at this thinking, oh, this guy's not playing well, I'm just going to motor away through this.
Yeah, I think one of the other reasons as well is that if you play a game where you do need to play a lot of big shots and you have to keep coming up with the goods and cue the ball well, you'll have days when you turn up and for whatever reason you just don't cue the ball particularly well. But if you play this sort of game with, you back your pattern play and you make the game as easy as possible, then you can have days where you don't actually have to play that well. You're kind of working the puzzle out well.
Yeah, I mean, we always say that about Phil Harrison. He's in our draw and one of the bounties, and we've seen absolutely nothing of so far. I mean, you watch him play a match, like, was he cueing well or not? Hard to say, really. Just seemed to roll all the balls in. It was all about the patterns.
Yeah, I mean, the one that always sticks out for me, and there's some fabulous players with their pattern play, and there's so many that would be in the conversation, but obviously we haven't seen him for a year or so. But for Mick Hill, he could win a tournament without having to play a tough shot. His patterns are so good.
Craig sort of isn't that player. I mean, his patterns are very good, but you feel like most times you watch him play, you watch him play quite a lot of cueing shots. He quite often seems to be at distance, but somehow it plays out okay.
Yeah, I always think that Craig, his patterns matches the way he wants to go about it. In his strength is potting, and his patterns match the potting. He plays a lot of shots and makes a lot of choices where he will always back the potting ability that he has. This is a delicate one. Big shot as well with just under 7 minutes to go. 3-0 if this drops in. 2-1 if it doesn't. That's how it'll feel. And it's not going to. It's quite a long way off. I think the yellow will squeeze in off the top cushion and off the red as well, so this isn't too bad for Tom.
This is a must-win frame and a must-take clearance because you can't slip 3-0 behind, and you can't really afford to let Craig back at the table in this match. In this frame, at least.
He's come a little bit too far up the table.
Yeah, it's in a good place for the pot, but it's not in a good place to get position after it.
Yeah, I mean, if you stop a foot, 2 foot short of where he is now, you're playing a natural. So he's gone the other way. He's gone to play the loss of turn. I wonder if that was always his plan then, because he was so far up the table that maybe he just felt like he couldn't squeeze that one in, and it was better to be patient.
In theory, that's the right shot because you look at where this 8-ball is, but you know what Wadd's like. You just feel he's going to find a pocket somehow.
He's playing the long double. The advantage of the long double was the fact that if you get it close and it blocks the pocket, you have some equity in the frame, but he was a long way off.
He's to either play this long to the corner as a shot to nothing, or could just play a safety shot if he feels the clearance is difficult.
That's an excellent pot from Tom.
Had the assurance there that even if he did miss the pot, the black wasn't going to be straightforward. Had to really back himself to pot it though, because he doesn't want Craig having another shot at the black.
Has he come far enough across? I don't think so. Yeah, shake of the head. It was one of those angles he would have loved an extra half a turn just to make it really easy. Force it across. Ah, he was okay. He played that with side obviously just to make the potting angle, but it wasn't as bad as he first thought and I first thought. And he is on the board.
Sticks with him through the season. Craig had an amazing career in the Challenger Series in the first year. Joined for the last 4 events. Won 2 out of the 4. Smashed his way to #1 and got promoted.
Yeah, 2 semi-finals to go with the 2 victories from 4 tournaments is seriously impressive, even for a world-class player in a Challenger Series.
Yeah, I mean, he was out of place in a sense in that series, but still, there were a lot of good players in it. It wasn't by any means a formality.
But that gives you an insight into sort of Craig's kind of mindset, really. A lot of people are like, why is he in the Challenger Series? But, you know, with Ultimate Pool starting, they obviously invited players to start at the pro level, and Craig was absolutely one of those, and quite rightly, because he's, you know, in my opinion, he's certainly a top 10 player in any, you know, I think in most people's opinion, so he should be in that conversation. But he turned it down for whatever reason, and very quickly thought, actually, no, I made a mistake here. I want to be a part of it. And rather than coming back to Ultimate Pool and moaning about it and going, oh, I'd love to, he's just gone, do you know what? I'll turn up in the Challenger Series half a season, and I'll get into the pro ranks. And he did, and he just got on with it. And I think it's a really good way of, you know, he's got such a good temperament. He's so good at just getting on with it, whether it's recovering from a mistake like he did in the previous frame, or, you know, dealing with a loss in a match and dust himself off, come back for the next tournament.
Yeah, there's so much he's used as an example of how to play. Like, technically fantastic. Often the way with left-handers, they seem to have a sort of fluency. Somehow the game looks a bit more elegant sometimes than for right-handed players. Oh, that was a good view of his cue action there, just completely textbook, dead straight. Time starting to tick down now, so if he does get this 3-1 lead that he'd get if he finishes these balls, that probably would be pretty much the match won. No problem obviously with the last 2 reds, it's just a case of getting nicely onto the 8-ball. Does he feel it pots clean, or does he just need to give it a little nudge? Well, the little nudge it was, and that's turned out pretty well. It's not completely straightforward, but it does look like it goes long to the corner.
Huge shot, though, in context of the match.
That's where Craig is such a good player, though. I mean, that kind of shot, a lot of players are looking at that thinking this could have turned out nicer, but probably a golden duck, because it's very hard to see how Tom's going to get the second frame, even if he was to break and clear for the first one.
Yeah, the golden break would have been the one, wouldn't it? Give himself enough time for potentially a reverse clearance. But Craig's breaking so well, and this may be over. Tom's already got down, and whilst we're looking at the replay, he's already got down, missed a pot, and he's conceded. He felt enough is enough. He's not going to be able to win it, and Craig Waddingham has got the job done.
I'm intrigued, Craig. What are you thinking?
I'm going to pick, so can I see the board?
You can indeed, yeah. So we're going to have a call out for Craig Waddingham. Who do you fancy? There's a couple of players on there who are eliminated, but pretty much everyone there in white is available for you. We do have our hitmen all in play.
I'll go for Scott Yardley.
Scott Yardley, come on down, dogs.